It's a heat wave. It's minus 12 now. It was minus 23 when I woke up to go feed the chickens and start the truck, start the tractor, check the man cave pellet stove, bring in another load of wood. That was at 4:30. So in 5 hours, it's halved. It's supposed to be 12 to 13 above zero today. Really cold tonight, and then 5 or 6 days of 35 to 40 degrees. But it's minus 23 with the wind chill right now, although the wind's hardly blowing, so it's wherever they check it. I hope everybody's staying warm. Letting this be a reminder of what's going to happen when everyone runs out of electric and fuel and heat. Oh boy, something's got to happen real fast, folks, or we are in very bad straits. Okay, brief pause. Good morning, everyone. JT here, Serenity Farms, prepping. Let's talk satellites and balloons. By now, most of you should have heard or seen United States airspace being violated by a supposed Asian balloon satellite powered by solar panels. Now, if you heard about it today or yesterday, right off the top, you need to know this entered U.S. airspace up by Montana at least 3 days ago. Why didn't we hear about it? Because the Democrats didn't want us to. All right, let's go over a couple fun facts before we get into why this happened. You own a drone? You own a private plane? Do you need bail money? Because there are thousands and thousands of miles of restricted airspace in this country. You do not fly anywhere with anything in this country without a pre-approved flight plan, and whatever you're flying has a transponder and a navigational system and a black box for all the planes. You can't fly under certain elevations, and you most definitely are not allowed to fly over the DC swamp, the Pentagon, the Capitol, any U.S. military installation, any missile silos, any nuclear facilities, etc., power grids. There are multiple restrictions in this country where you cannot fly. And if you do, always, military fighter jets are put in the air and you're given a warning. They force you to the ground. If you refuse, they're supposed to blow you out of the sky. None of those things happened with this supposed Asian satellite. You should be demanding why, except we all likely know the answers. In order for nothing, literally nothing to have happened and continued nothing, someone had to notify pedophile in chief that someone notifies the military. Either the military notifies the president because they picked it up on radar, or FAA airports somewhere picked it up on radar. They notify the military, and the military automatically notifies the president, and puts jets up in the air. In this particular case, either the military had pre-existing orders because they knew it was coming and they were told to stand down and do nothing, but with Milley, that's not a stretch. Or they called the installed one, informed him or someone of the situation, and he told them to stand down. This balloon was over Montana's military installation, which houses some ICBMs. For TARDs, that would be intercontinental ballistic missiles. We have several of those locations throughout the United States, just as every other country has several of theirs situated throughout their countries. Every country spies on every other country all day long. They do it with satellites that are orbiting in space. They can read the fine print on your morning newspaper through your kitchen window with those satellites. They do not need a balloon to hover over. Okay? So, you were seeing all these calls to shoot it down by numbskull politicians, former presidents, and generally people who don't have a freaking clue what they're talking about. Here is a scenario. All right. Planes fly at 30,000 feet for obvious reasons. There's usually no weather, less wind resistance for better fuel economy. They're above the clouds, and they can avoid almost all restrictions for elevation throughout the United States. Not that they want to fly over bases, okay? So, this balloon was apparently videoed because people could stand in their driveways and see it with the naked eye, which means it's pretty freaking low. Okay? Think how big that had to be. Apparently these things are like as big as a tarp on 3 football fields. Okay? Had solar panels. That's powering it. Or that was powering a system to keep it inflated, or it was just powering whatever was inside the balloon, or a compartment hanging down below the balloon. This wasn't like a trip around the world in 80 days where there was a big basket hanging from the bottom. Okay? So, the balloon comes into Montana 2 or 3 days ago via the North Pole through Canada. Trudeau Castro, thanks for the heads up, but don't think for a minute that the U.S. doesn't monitor Canadian airspace so that Russians and Chinese can't just fly through there. Come on. All right? So we knew. So all the people calling for this thing to be shot down, what if inside the balloon, behind the solar panels, whatever, was an EMP device? You only need a briefcase-size EMP detonated over Middle America at about 300 feet, and the entire United States is living in Little House on the Prairie times. Within 3-4 months later, year they say, 90% of the U.S. population, D-E-A-D, dead. So, you shoot this thing down, you risk blowing up an EMP. Doesn't have to be a dirty bomb. Just needs the radiation. So, some of the experts Now, an EMP has to be at least 80 feet high and no higher than 1,000, because once you get above that elevation, the Earth has this thing called a magnetic field that would stop the radiation, the electronic pulse from penetrating down through onto us. So, the balloon wasn't that low when people could see it from their driveway, but what the experts are saying was, if the balloon had been that low, something would have been done. Okay. That high, they weren't afraid of an EMP because the balloon was too high. It was above the Earth's magnetic field. All right. Maybe. I don't think anyone would have taken the chance. I don't know that I could have. So, this balloon is being allowed to go across Montana, check out that military installation, was dropping diagonally southeast across Middle America, where there's several other locations, and then was headed towards either the Carolinas, where there's other ICBMs located, and then it was probably going to go out to sea, catch a wave, catch a ride on the airstreams, and go wherever it was going. How and why was this allowed, in quotations, to happen? There had to be several allowances in order for this to happen, none of which are good, but likely all stems from the fact Pedo Joe and the majority of the Democrats and some rhinos are controlled, owned, spanked by the Chinese. This didn't happen yesterday. It's happened over years. The Chinese have been allowed, in most cases, to infiltrate every aspect of America. Military for sure, politics without a doubt, academia, the economy, our infrastructure, our agriculture, everything you can think of. The Chinese have had either spies stealing technology or information, or sabotaging what the U.S. was doing. Remember, the chicoms and the Dems and some never-Trumpers and some leaders from other countries all conspired together for the 2020 election. That started with, as we know, the fake scamorama pandemic to bring in the thing to get the regime they wanted installed, the controlled puppets. Everybody's always asking, who controls Biden? Well, maybe Obama. Well, who controls Obama? China controls them all via some globalists. The Chinese have so much dirt on all these scumbags from 20, 30 years back. Feinstein's driver, Chinese spy for 20 years. She never knew. Swallowwell's, Fang Fang, Ding Dala Ding Dang. How many years was that? Ooh, I hope she was good. And he's still walking around, breathing. Mitch Turtle McConnell's wife is deeply connected to the CCP. How's that working out for us? Yeah, so you get the point. The Chinese could at any time expose all these people. I don't know how many we'd have left in the swamp. But they're not, because they don't need to, just for that reason. So, very likely, at some point, whether before or after a potential Russian incident, China, which has troops spread all throughout America with weapons, thanks to Newsom and the port of Long Beach, China will invade from the west. That's California for tards. I made a video on this before about the outlined plan of attack invasion. They will bomb into the coast, leaving the docks for themselves to land, because that's where they need to offload troops, tanks, armored vehicles, whatever else they're bringing. And very likely, Pedo Joe and the Dems will have ordered the military to stand down once again. They will work their way westward. Maybe some rogue military guys, as they move inward, will decide to take action, and we'll see what happens. But remember, the chicoms have who knows what for weapons in those large storage containers situated all across America, with all sorts of Chinese military troops disguised as solar and wind farm and migrant workers, just waiting for the word. Now, I hope and pray none of this happens, but you need to know that this is all connected. Now, there is a second balloon inward from Canada, according to Trudeau Castro. But we already knew this, or at least the regime did. So, is that one going to be allowed to penetrate U.S. airspace? I'm not taking any money out of my pocket. Man, oh man, get prepared, folks. Everything is collapsing all around us, and apparently the sheepletards who are pretending nothing ever happened in 2020 are okay with it. www.storagechef.com, SFP15. Get all the food you can. Get it wherever you want. Just get prepared. Ammo, ammo, ammo. I'm going to put this on Rumble and maybe the other place. I'll have to check and see how it appears that they are sanctioning people. But that's all I got for now. Please like, share, subscribe, notification bell. But for now, Jake T, signing off.